Back to order. Welcome to the council meeting of September 9th, 2019, and please join me. Okay, we will start with the approval of the minutes. We have 4 sets of minutes in front of us this evening. Is there a motion to approve all of them?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Ms. Krummeler. Any corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes passed unanimously. And next we come to announcements, and I'll start on my right with Ms. Niedergang. Any announcements for this evening?
Yes, I do just have one announcement, and actually, why don't you move on from me for 1 minute, and I'll be ready.
Mr. Cohen, any announcements?
Just want to quickly mention the program at the Senior Resource Center on September 20th. We're going to be doing a tutorial on using the new parking system, including hands-on teaching about how to use the app, the phone app. So if you have any friends who've been wrestling with that, they don't have to be a senior, even though it's happening at the Senior Resource Center. That'll be at noon. And many members of council have actually volunteered to come and tutor people. So it should be fun.
Ms. Krummeler, any announcements? Mr. Quinn?
Just 2 announcements. Next Saturday, the town is going to be pretty busy during the day. 2 big events. The Princeton Children's Book Festival will be on Heinz Plaza, and at the same time, Bainbridge House will reopen as Art at Bainbridge. So it's always easy if you live in town to walk or bike downtown, but it will be a busy Saturday. And that's all. Thank you.
I do. I had mentioned last month that Princeton was preparing to organize this year's Welcoming Week, which takes place September 13th through the 22nd this year. Human Services has been busy collaborating with community partners to organize events during that week. And in collaboration with the Civil Rights Commission and other community partners, the event will be kicked off on September 13th with a salsa dance at the Arts Council. There are several events that one can go to the Human Services page to see the listing of events and then click on the link to get the details. But others that I would want to mention is on September 18th, there's going to be a naturalization ceremony at 2 p.m. at the public library. And then on September 20th, there's going to be a cultural exchange night. This year it's going to be hosted by Palmer Square Green. And then back by popular demand, we're doing a Loteria community building event. And this year, we had started a tradition of having celebrity callers. I know Mayor Lempert and Councilman Quinn have done that in the past. At the last one, we had a couple of our uniformed officers from the police department. This year, we're going to collaborate with the fire department and have 2 uniformed firefighters being our celebrity callers at the event. But there's many others, and it's not too late for any community partners, organizations who wish to participate. Contact Melissa Urias from Princeton Human Services to get some ideas of what you might be able to sponsor.
Ms. Williamson?
None.
Ms. Niedergang?
Thank you. So I do just have something to relay from our health officer. Some of you may be aware that nationwide there's been several deaths related to vaping products, and they're trying to get to the root of this, and at this point they haven't. So I'm just relaying some concerns from our health department, and they're going to be reaching out to the schools as well. So the New Jersey Department of Health is asking all local health departments to interview patients negatively impacted by vaping. Princeton has received 2 calls in the last 2 weeks regarding negative health impacts from e-cigarettes, but both of these were from neighboring towns. The Board of Health is working on communicating materials to the schools, businesses, and doctor's office outlining the new CDC e-cigarette warnings. E-cigarettes are not safe for youth, young adults, pregnant women, or adults who do not currently use tobacco products. While e-cigarettes have the potential to benefit some people and harm others, scientists still have a lot to learn about whether e-cigarettes are effective for quitting smoking. And if you've never used e-cigarettes or other tobacco products, now is not the time to start. Thanks.
Thank you. And I have a few announcements. First is that the annual Shred-Tember Fest is going to be September 21st this year, and it'll be held in the Franklin parking lot. So this is a great opportunity if you have electronics, bikes you want to donate, paper you need to shred. You can look online for all the information, and the hours for that will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then also, since our municipal engineer isn't here tonight, I'll give some road updates. So first of all, Cherry Valley Road has reopened. Hooray. We're still experiencing heavy traffic at this intersection here, especially when during school drop-off hours. So if you were taking Cherry Valley and then you stopped taking Cherry Valley because it was under construction, now is the time to rethink maybe going back onto Cherry Valley and relieving some of the pressure here. We have a giant road project coming up starting on November 6th. Both the state DOT and Mercer County are going to be replacing the bridges on Alexander. The road is going to be shut starting November 6th and lasting through April. We know the timing of that is not ideal. In large part, it's driven by the fact that it's an environmentally sensitive area, and they're not allowed to work in the stream or near the stream during the summer months. So they have to start early enough in the year where they can finish before the summer restriction kicks in. We've been working with merchant community. I want to thank Eve Niedergang for the work with the transit committee. We've been working with our state partners, been working with the university, been reaching out to other major employers to encourage people to put plans in place now if there's possibilities for instituting flex time, allowing people to work from home 1 or 2 days a week. We're just encouraging everybody to rethink, especially during commuting hours, to try to change your schedule so that you're not on the road then coming into Princeton or out of Princeton, because we are expecting traffic as a result of that closed road. There is going to be a public information session hosted by the DOT on September 25th. That's a Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. at Monument Hall, where they'll go over the details of the project and the detours that will be in place. And one of the things we've talked about the state and the county about is to not have other road projects during that period, because we're not going to be able to cope with more. So as a result, you're going to be seeing accelerated road projects in the next couple months so that they can get done before the November 6th start of the Alexander project. So the first thing you'll see is work on 206. DOT is doing a major repaving of 206 from Nassau Street all the way to Lawrence. It actually is going to go all the way to Trenton, but it's going to go Princeton, starting at Nassau Street all the way south. There will be overnight work as part of that in order for them to meet the deadline. In addition, we were just informed by Mercer County that they're going to be closing Mercer Street over the bridge over the Stony Brook for 15 working days starting September 23rd for emergency repairs on the bridge. Again, so that they can get that work done before Alexander. So it's a great time to take up biking too, right? Yeah. And also we're trying to encourage use of the Dinky also. During the Alexander closure, that is going to be the best way, fastest way to get from Princeton to West Windsor and back into town. Are there any staff reports or announcements? Nope, okay. So we'll move on to one of the highlights of this evening, which is the award of recognition. And I want to turn the microphone over to Councilman Williamson.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Author and civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois famously said, "The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line." Unfortunately, this problem did not fade away in the 20th century, but has followed us into the 21st century. We're seeing from the White House on down that questions of race and ethnicity in our nation that we thought were already answered during the civil rights movement are now being placed back on the table. I am grateful for organizations such as Not in Our Town, Princeton, who for over 2 decades now have helped lead the charge to rid our town of racism and white supremacy. Not in Our Town, and here I'm borrowing from the mission statement, Not in Our Town, Princeton is a multiracial, multi-faith group of individuals who stand together for racial justice and inclusive communities. Their focus is to promote the equitable treatment of all and to uncover and confront white supremacy, a system which manipulates and pits all races and ethnicities against each other. The goal of Not in Our Town, Princeton is to identify and expose the political, economic, and cultural systems which have enabled white supremacy to flourish and create new structures and policies which will ensure equity and inclusion for all. In their commitment to uncovering the blight of white supremacy in our humanity, they take responsibility to address it and eliminate it in all its forms through intentional action, starting with ourselves and our communities. I remember personally attending the outstanding racial literacy classes with Not in Our Town, featuring Princeton University professor Dr. Ruha Benjamin at the Princeton Public Library. Furthermore, Not in Our Town has worked with Professor Benjamin and the Princeton Board of Education to institute the racial literacy classes at Princeton High School. I continue to attend, and I would encourage all of us here to attend the continuing conversations on race and white privilege on the first Mondays of the month at the Princeton Public Library. So, to Not in Our Town, on behalf of our mayor and my council colleagues, I say thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep up the good work. Thanks. So, we have here. Yeah. Are we coming down? We have here a wonderful certificate of appreciation from the Mayor and Council, and to present to the board and membership.
Can you just make sure you're in the mic, because there might be people watching and we want them to hear.
I don't think it's on. Is it on?
Still not. There we
Is it on now? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening again. As a member of Not in Our Town, having started with them 21 years ago, I am honored to have been asked to accept this award to recognize the service and commitment of Not in Our Town. I was going to ask them to come forward, but they're already here. Not in Our Town began as a faith-based organization by members of 3 Princeton churches, the Unitarian Universalist Church, Witherspoon Street Presbyterian Church, and Nassau Presbyterian Church, to address and discuss social and racial justice in the Princeton community. The members you see before you are serious and devoted stewards of social justice. They are community leaders, facilitators, mentors, educators, lawyers, counselors, social media experts, activists, and neighborhood residents. We thank you very much for this award. We will keep doing what we're doing for Princeton, and I thank you, Mr. Williamson, and all the members who are here. Thank you for what you do, and we will continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Councilman Williamson was very eloquent, but all of us on council feel the same way. We're really appreciative of your group's efforts to make our community a better place and work on the issues we need to be working on.
Thank you.
I want to move on to comments from the public for items that are not already on the agenda, and we'll start with Mrs. Wu.
Hi, good evening, council member. It's been 5 months since last time, April. I still don't know when we're gonna have a permanent location for the lunch program. So I hope that I can get some kind of answer tonight. And also very important, last week, one of my lunch member, his car had been hit in the senior center parking lot. And unfortunately, the camera was not covered all angle. So even he called the police, they couldn't find the perpetrator. And I found that very, very troubling because I go to senior center every single day, Monday through Friday, knowing that if somebody strike my car, can get away, that is unthinkable. So I'm asking the town install more camera so it can cover all the angle. They do have, but not enough to cover the whole parking lot. And that is my request. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. And since you raised the question about the senior lunch program, I just ask Mr. DeShield if you have an update on that. I know we've been working on the setting up a location at the Chestnut Street Firehouse.
Yes, what I could do is give council an update. We don't have an exact date for the relaunch in the new facility. However, what I can tell council is the main roof work has been completed. We are now in the process of making the interior improvements. With the roof condition, there were also a number of exterior damage caused by the rain coming from the roof. That's being repaired as we speak, and we began the process of kind of planning to transition over to moving it over. As soon as we have a more firm date, we'll advise council.
Thank you. And also your comment about the cameras is well taken, and we can pass that on to the police to take a look at that. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on any item that's not already on the agenda? Go ahead.
Yes, this is totally sort of spontaneous. Can I make an announcement about the Art Against Racism week, which is coming up, or 10 days. So the Bayard Rustin Social Justice Center, Reinhold Ponder, Ruth Ann Traylor from the Unitarian Congregation, we're organizing a 10-day program, Art Against Racism. Not in our town, Princeton is part of that. Some of you attend our Unity Awards every year, and this year we presented awards to students who expressed their support and advocacy on behalf of racial justice through the arts, through paintings and poetry. And we thought this was a perfect opportunity for them to come back so that a broader audience could experience their work, and they'll be able to read their poems. And we're inviting other students to be part of that. That's on the 23rd of September at Morven. And then there will be other events during that week, including a talk about reparations by Caroline Clark at the Arts Council. There'll be an art exhibit at the Arts Council. There's, I don't have them in front of me, but it's a 10-day program, and there'll be art in different places expressing people's perspective on racial justice. I know our students will be at the YW and at the Arts Council. So
is there a single best location to go, the Arts Council website or the Bayard Rustin Center website?
the Bayard Rustin Center has a website. And
it'll have information about all of the
yes,
activities.
there's a flyer that just came out today that has most everything in it. And I just got it today, and then I thought, I can make an announcement. Thank you.
Thanks. But for the sake of our clerk, can you just, I know who you are, but just state your name for the record.
I'm sorry. Wilma Solomon, TR Place, Princeton.
Thank you, Wilma.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to anything that is not already on the agenda? Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to reports. And I'll start again on my right with Ms. Niedergang. Any reports this evening?
Always starting with me, huh? Okay. All right. Yeah. Just an update that task force with membership from the Princeton Environmental Commission and Sustainable Princeton is working on a chicken ordinance to allow backyard chickens, to formally, legally allow backyard chickens in Princeton. And there'll be an event at the library for people to experience backyard chickens. And that is, I think, October 4th or 5th, whatever that Saturday is, at 10:30. The Transit Communications Task Force, which has been working to promote the use of public transit in Princeton and to advocate for not only for people to use the freebie, which is a municipal service, but to let people know that Tiger Transit, for almost all of its routes, is available to the public. So we're trying to get more signs out, which will be posted at the freebie stops and at the freebie bus shelters. There'll be maps, there'll be schedules, and a very attractive logo. Thanks to a volunteer who's put in an endless amount of time, Scott Covey, on this project. And as the mayor mentioned, public transit is also participating in discussions with the merchant community and the university about the Alexander Street closing, and there'll be more information on that coming up.
I'll just briefly mention that the Sustainable Princeton is forming a task force to specify the nature of the energy aggregation solicitation that the community is putting forward. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's basically a program where the municipality negotiates on behalf of residents to try and get both the most cost-effective and the most sustainable electricity generation contract possible. It's an opt-out for residents, so if you don't want to participate, you can always say, I don't want to participate, but for anybody who is interested in that, you don't have to do anything. It will automatically kick in that you would be part of the program. And the first meeting is this Thursday afternoon, right? Or thank you for. So if you have thoughts about what our targets should be, how much should we reduce the cost of our energy, how much should it be sustainable, you can communicate with me or with Christine Symington at Sustainable Princeton.
I have two quick reports. Members of the Public Works Committee and the mayor met with representatives of Central Jersey Waste / Solterra on August 28th about deficits in solid waste removal, their solid waste removal service in town. It was an honest and productive meeting during which we agreed to new communications protocols for missed pickups due to mechanical issues and road construction. The meeting was spurred by the municipality's initiation of a part of our contract that allows us to collect liquidated damages for performance issues. So as I said, it was a serious and honest conversation, and we were assured that we would see improvement in our pickup. So if your garbage is not picked up in a timely manner on the day when it's supposed to be picked up, provided you have it out by 7 a.m. on the day of pickup, please report it to Access Princeton by calling 609-924-4141 or use the C-Click Fix app. My second report is about the fire department. The fire department working group continues to meet about the conversion of the department from an all-volunteer force to a combination of career and volunteer firefighters. The group met the first week of September and decided on a timeline for hiring career firefighters while we simultaneously look to attract more volunteers. The jobs posting will be on September 16th, and after a rigorous process, we expect to have appointments in December. So I'd repeat that we're also looking for volunteers, and we will follow up on those who apply to be volunteers. Many of you probably received a circular in the mail about volunteering for Princeton Fire or for the First Aid and Rescue Squad. Thank you.
Just wanted to make one comment, just for the public in terms of the hiring of firefighters. It's important to note that they will be internal first. So we will first be looking at our internal candidates. So the posting will be an internal posting first before we go out, just in case someone's looking for the position and heard about it tonight.
And that's because of state law.
May I just ask a quick follow-up of Councilman Quinn about the negotiations with or discussions with Solterra? Is our contract for solid waste disposal, is that up this year or next year? And do we know if there are other viable options out there, just looking ahead?
So I would ask Mr. DeShield to jump in so the contract expires December 31st. I believe the bid documents have gone out. There are usually multiple bidders. However, this is a contract where we are required by law to take the lowest bid. So if Central Jersey comes in the lowest, we will work with them again. It's also important for the public to realize that recycling is handled by Solterra, which is also part of Central Jersey, but that's administered through the Mercer County Improvement Authority. So again, the same protocol for solid waste, garbage disposal, and for recycling. If it isn't picked up when it's supposed to, please access Princeton. We've improved the communication protocols between the municipal staff and the staff at Central Jersey, we've been assured that missed pickups will be rectified within 24 hours.
Okay.
Anything to add, Mr. DeShiel?
Okay. Yes. So on behalf of the Youth Advisory Committee, who had their first meeting just last Friday, which hopefully going forward will not be on Fridays, but it was a very energized meeting. I continue to be so impressed by our students, and will continue to say that there's hope for us with this generation. In addition to, they set their goals, and in addition to continuing their work on the initiatives on addressing emotional well-being, Councilwoman Niedergang, you'll be, I think, happy to hear that one of their initiatives they want to work on this year is also on the issue of vaping, to address that. And at the end of last academic year, they had a presentation by Sustainable Princeton, and one of our committee members wanted to take the lead in chairing a subcommittee to work on that, on sustainability in Princeton. And just to reiterate how energized this committee is, I don't think this happens very often in other committees. We had, for each position, they had elections for chair, vice chair, and secretary. And for each position, they had 4 members that were wanting to serve in that position, even in secretary. And the way they dealt with that, they had the members step out and then come back and do a presentation, and then there was a written vote, secret vote. But I was just so wowed that they wanted to be even for secretary and taking a role in that. Yes, I'm very excited and looking forward to their work. The Perfect Parking Task Force has been the subcommittees have been very productive, conducting research and gathering data. And although the resolution that established the task force indicated that they would be coming back to council with a report with recommendations would be in mid-October, realistically, we're realizing that because it is important that we get community input from our residents and our business community, and some surveys have been developed that will be going out to do much outreach, and also we're going to be holding a public meeting that's a meeting that's going to be open to the public to also get some input. We will be, the task force will be requesting an extension to that deadline. And I don't know if it has to be formal in writing or if we just...
Is there just a consensus on council? We want to let the permit parking task force do their work before they come present it to us. Yeah, I mean, I would
Yes.
say that obviously it's an important issue, so we don't want it to drag on forever, but
Right.
we also want to make sure that the task force feels like they're bringing forward work product that they're ready for us to consider. So.
Right, and especially one that has at least input from our residents and the business community regarding parking needs and concerns.
Right. Yeah. The only thing I would say is that even before the report comes to council, if there's thorny issues that the task force is working on, we can always have a work session here at council.
Okay.
And oftentimes that will work better to get the feeling and input from council before the task force goes off in a set direction. So you always have that option, and we're in communication if you feel like a work session would be helpful in the interim before the final report is ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll bring that back to the task force.
Great.
And then just one last thing that I failed to mention during announcements is that as a member of the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, NALEO, it's a long term, but I've been invited to attend a conference at the end of this week on is the National Policy Institute on Emergency Response and Management. So this will deal with working on and getting some, having some roundtable and strategy discussions on how to deal with emergencies and disasters, and including communication and housing if needed, and when there's an emergency. One of the workshops that's also going to be included that I'm interested in is going to be a workshop on the census, the complete count, and which I hope at our next meeting to introduce a resolution to establish Princeton's complete count committee.
Terrific. That's great. Mr. Williamson?
Nothing to add.
I had a few reports. The first is we are in discussions with the school district and moving forward with the shared services study with them. And I want to thank Councilman Quinn for his leadership on this. So we've engaged CGR, which is the consulting firm that helped with Princeton's consolidation, and they're already very familiar with Princeton. And we've also been in full communication with the district about planning needs. They're going to be having a meeting tomorrow night across the street where there'll be, I don't know if it's in, I think it's just a presentation from a possible planner looking at long-range facility planning for the school district. So for people who are interested in that, I invite you vicariously through the school board to come to that. I think we need to work out on council to make sure we don't have a quorum there since it hasn't been noticed. I think I plan to attend, and I think Mr. Quinn does. So if there's one more people, okay, and Mr. Cohen, excellent. That makes sense as the planning board contingent, and we will report back at the next meeting, and I'm sure the meeting will be covered by the local press as well. I also wanted to make a report that we are looking for a volunteer to work as the town's LGBTQ liaison. This is a position that we're creating as part of best practices through the MEI report that we recently completed. So I'll be putting together, actually I want to thank Kim Dorman because she is filling in temporarily in the position as the LGBTQ liaison. But I'll be putting a letter in the paper letting people know we're looking for a volunteer, but since we have an audience with the Not in Our Town folks, if you could help get the word out about that too, that would be great. And then just a couple more reports. If you remember, last year we had our first council meeting on campus with students with the WIG Clio group, and just to echo Ms. Fraga, there was a lot of energy, and it's great to work with young people. So I'm going to be meeting with the president later this week, a follow-up to that meeting. And so if people have ideas for projects where it'd be useful to get them involved, if you can just shoot me an email or give me a call before then. And I think that's going to be a growing relationship that hopefully will be productive on both ends. And finally, because I guess it's fall now officially, and leaves are starting to fall, and I see Christine Symington there from Sustainable Princeton. This is a seasonal reminder that you don't just have to take your leaves and put them out on the street. The town does provide that service, but there's actually more beneficial things you can do if you keep the leaves on your property. So Sustainable Princeton has a lot of useful information on their website. Depending on your property, you can put them in the woods, you can create a little corral, you can use them for mulching, but it's more environmentally sustainable to keep them on your property and try to reuse them. And it's also better for your garden and for reducing flooding. Are there any staff reports? Mr. Schild?
I just wanted to do one report. I just want to respond to an inquiry earlier today by Mr. Niedergang, just to give an update on the current status for the River Road site and the testing. As you know, we've employed Whitman Associates as our LSRP. They have completed the boring for the testing of the soil. That's been sent to a lab. That was completed the end of August. That's now at the labs. They should be getting reports back sometime in the next 2 weeks or so. At that point, they'll report back to us the conditions of the soil, and at that point, we'll be able to develop a plan for the remediation of the site, and I will inform council at that time when we have additional information.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on then to our ordinance public hearings. The first public hearing, I'll read the ordinance, but we're actually going to be carrying this public hearing to October 14th. So this is ordinance 2019-28, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton accepting the donation of 40 acres of passive open space located between Ridgeview Road and Cherry Valley Road and designated as Block 501, Lots 3 and 10 on the Princeton tax maps. And just to explain to people here what this is currently private open space. And the proposal is to have it be donated to be public open space, but there's still some negotiations going on between the municipality and the homeowners association. So while those discussions happen, we're going to be postponing the public hearing until October 14th, 2019. Next is ordinance 2019-35 of the Mayor and Council of Princeton concerning salaries and compensation of certain personnel of the municipality of Princeton. And Mr. DeShield, do you just explain why this is in front of us tonight?
Yes. The ordinance you have in front of you is really the authorization of salaries, the salary ranges for our employees. Each year after we've determined what the cost of a living adjustment, which is 1.75 for this year, we go back and we'll adjust our salary ordinance appropriately. So you'll see the adjustments there. We also incorporate if there were any changes from our last ordinance that need to be done. You'll see a number of places where either they're changing titles or additional titles that were added to the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to open up the public hearing for this ordinance. All right, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and see if there's a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Niedergang. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Krumiller. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Niedergang,
Aye.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Krumiller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Mr. Williamson.
Yes.
And the ordinance passes unanimously. Next, we come to resolutions. The first resolution is 19276, resolution authorizing 2019 third quarter refunds of $54,936.72 in overpayments. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Quinn,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Krumiller. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Cohen?
I'm just curious whether this amount is typical for quarterly refunds, because it seems like a lot of overpayments.
It,
And could there be an explanation for extraordinary level of overpayments?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look and tell you if it's typical or not. Most of the time, these duplicate payments are when both the homeowner and the bank make the payments on the taxes. So I could go back and see, but we usually get a bunch around this time of year. I just don't know what the dollar amount is.
Are there any other questions about this resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. And next we come to the next resolution, 19277, resolution authorizing execution of agreement with Curb My Clutter LLC for recycle material pilot program. And this has been slightly amended. Council has the revised version here, and because there's still some back and forth on some of the minutia of the agreement, the resolution is authorizing the attorneys to work out the final language on the agreement. Did you want to add to that?
No, I just wanted to underscore that it's really, we're talking about changes just to the verbiage, not, not the substance from the policy perspective, but how certain things are worded and just, a couple of inconsistencies.
Okay, and then just for the benefit of the public, is there a start date that's been identified yet, or We don't have that information.
I don't have the answer to that, but that doesn't mean that the answer doesn't exist.
Okay, well, we'll report on that at the next meeting. We had a presentation about this program at our last meeting, and essentially it's an agreement with, this is a private company that provides curbside recycling pickup of electronics and of textiles and of other things like that, and it's by appointment. So you go on their website, you say, I have so many bags of stuff for you to pick up, and they'll come and get it from your house. It's not a donation because they're a private company, so it's considered recycling. And it is mostly free except for if you have a very large, heavy television or TV cabinet. There's certain items that they will charge to come pick up, mainly because of their weight. But it's just another convenience for residents who choose to participate in it, and it's a way to make sure that textiles don't end up in the landfill, that they're getting recycled. And also, they keep track of how much of this material they're recycling, and so the town receives some money back through recycling grants that are done through the state. So we don't expect it to be a major windfall, but it's every little bit helps, and it's mostly just another option for people who are trying to clean up and do it in a sustainable way. So with that, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I had a couple of, I'm sorry, I had a couple of comments, not on the resolution itself, but on the pilot agreement that I believe that I sent around, because I know Mr. Cohen saw it, and it's not a problem to make those changes or address those.
Those were the...
Yeah, those were the changes I was referring to earlier. That shouldn't be an issue. I mean,
Oh, okay. Okay, because it's not in the ordinance part, it's in the pilot agreement part, which wasn't printed out, I think.
well, we need to work out, I mean, obviously we need to run the revisions by the other party, but none of them struck me as problematic, so
Yeah, they were
it shouldn't be an
small
issue, but that's
details.
why the resolution itself was tweaked, was to enable us to just work that out
Okay.
administratively, basically. Because
Perfect.
none of the changes you suggested go to the terms and conditions of
Right.
the contract, but rather how those are expressed. So that's why I don't think they're problematic.
Okay, great, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohen
Second?
and seconded by Ms. Krummeller. Any other further comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes unanimously. And next we come to 19278, resolution declaring that the second Monday in October shall be known as Indigenous Peoples' Day in the municipality of Princeton, encouraging other institutions to recognize the day and reaffirming the municipality's commitment to promote the well-being and growth of Indigenous communities. And Ms. Fraga, did you want to say something?
Yes, I
about this
do.
resolution?
I know that Ms. Dorman wishes to make a statement on behalf of the Civil Rights Commission and the committee that led the effort. I also wanted to make some comments, and to say that this committee truly did a lot of work, a lot of research, and took great care that the wording was unique to Princeton. We did look at other to look at other ordinances that other communities who had passed also an Indigenous Peoples' Day to recognize. But I wanted to emphasize and underscore, I should say, that we have heard some concerns about what this means as far as Columbus Day is concerned. I wanted to point out that Columbus Day has not been an official holiday for this municipality or the schools for that matter, although the students, there's no school on that day. I understand it's for training day. It's not officially recognized as Columbus Day. And we took great care to also, in the wording of this ordinance, it does not anywhere say that it's replacing Columbus Day. It is our wish, or the Civil Rights Commission wish to to introduce this ordinance and to recommend that Princeton recognize the second Monday of October as to be recognized as Indigenous Peoples' Day, but not instead of.
And I just wanted to just correct one thing you said, because I just checked, and
Which is-
the kids do go to school that day.
Oh,
Yes.
some days they don't. Some days it
Sometimes,
falls on the
yeah,
day
but
when
just
they
so
do,
nobody gets too excited listening
when they
from
do
home.
train. Well,
Don't want to step on the toes of the other
No.
elected body in town, right?
no, because it came up because when the committee was researching, there was, it just happened to fall, there was a day when there was no school, and when we followed up, we were able to confirm that it was not observing Columbus Day, that it was for teacher training. Do we need to move the resolution first before?
Oh, yeah, we should probably put it on the table, and then we'll invite comments. So
Can-
is there a motion to
Can I
approve?
make that?
I second.
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Ms. Fraga, and,
I think I beat Councilman Quinn to it.
okay, all right, we'll say it's seconded by Mr. Williamson, and are there any questions or comments from council before we open up for public comment? Ms. Dorman?
Overdue.
Thank you for giving me a moment to speak. I just would like to thank the council for considering the Indigenous Peoples' Day resolution.
Can you just, I know you're louder than that.
We would like to thank the council for considering the Indigenous Peoples' Day resolution. The creation of this document has been a truly collective and collaborative endeavor. Councilperson Fraga named this as one of her goals for the Civil Rights Commission of 2019. An ad hoc committee was formed with Thomas A. Parker, Commissioners Hamza Nishtar, Stacey Mann, and Kim Dorman, and community members Daniel Harris and Patricia Saul. We used the Seattle, Washington Indigenous Peoples' Day resolution as a starting point and worked hard to make it a document that was right for Princeton, for New Jersey, and the tribal nations of this small part of the Lenape-Hoking. There are 3 tribal nations officially recognized by the state of New Jersey. We submitted the proposed resolution to the elders of the Ramapo Lenape Nation and the Nanticoke Lenni Lenape Tribal Nation and received their approval. Thank you, Chief Dwayne Perry and Pastor J.R. Norwood, for your time and contributions. Much discussion was given to how to specifically honor and name the peoples who have for generations stewarded these lands. We came together over language developed for a land acknowledgement by Fazil Sheikh's Princeton University class ENV 426, and would like to thank them for their work on a land acknowledgement and this thoughtful listing of tribal nations. Thank you to everyone, for those whose works inspired us, those who actively worked with us, and those who supported the proposed resolution to name the second Monday of October Indigenous Peoples' Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Kim, if you have your comments written out, if you want to submit them to the clerk's office, we can make sure they're included in the minutes for the meeting. And is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Mr. Harris?
Good evening. Daniel Harris, 28 Dodds Lane. I had the privilege of working with Kim and others on this wonderful resolution which you are about to pass, I am sure, or at least I hope. I want to thank Mayor Lempert, first of all, for picking up on the request about a year ago made by me, Patty Sol, Soma Hashem, and Roberto Schiraldi that you indeed consider Indigenous Peoples' Day here in Princeton. I want to thank Letitia Faya, and in particular, for fielding the whole thing and for working on the first draft and giving us a template from which to go on from there. As Ms. Dorman has also already said, the collaborative work by the ad hoc committee of the Civil Rights Commission was engaging and important work. I also want to thank Pastor Norwood for his invaluable wisdom on several crucial issues. The heart of this resolution, despite the importance of, the part of this resolution really has to do with education. And the resolution gives us a mandate and a platform from which to go on from here in helping all of us to understand issues of genocide, issues of cultural suppression, issues that our white ancestors have been responsible for, which have long gone unrecognized. I want to thank in advance everyone who chooses to work on projects connected with educational programming for the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? All right, I'd like to bring it back to council then. Are people ready to vote, or does anybody else like to speak on it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes unanimously. Thank you.
Say thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for your work. We really appreciate it. And now we come to the consent agenda, which contains items of a routine nature passed by single vote. Are there any items anyone would like removed from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Item number 8, I have to recuse on, so I'd like to remove that.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 7?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Quinn, seconded by Ms. Krummeller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consent agenda passes, and now we'll take up the completion time extension to August 31st, 2020 for 453 Jefferson Road, Block 7007, Lot 4, minor subdivision to Dr. Ziad Hadaya and Nada Hadaya. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by
Second.
Ms. Krummeller and seconded by Mr. Quinn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And is there, you guys are done with closed session, right? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Is there a
Can I just add a little comment that I should have included earlier? Is it possible to get the salary details posted on the website? I think that the more transparency that the municipality can provide, the better. I don't know if that's I mean, we're discussing it openly.
I
I
mean,
have no idea.
They're on, I mean, it's on as an ordinance and on as a resolution.
Okay.
So
But-
it's searchable that way. I
But
mean,
it's searchable only if you know what resolution.
no, you can search for salary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and it'll
all
pop
right.
up.
Thank you then.
Right.
Sorry.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Krummeller, seconded by Ms. Dietergang. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
No,
meeting
but
is
it's too
adjourned.
early to.